why drinking water is such a priority for us? I think it is one of the basic rights. Today, first of all, Telangana is not a very consistent rain-fed area. Last 10 years, 5 years, rains are under the estimated levels. And so we must first ensure the people the required water. And you see the last 30 years, the groundwater tables are going. There are places now you go for 1,000 meters, 1,000 feet, 500 feet in a domestic. So this is not an acceptable situation. So once you have the water in our tanks, water table improves, but that doesn't give you the free drinking water, a clean drinking water. So for that, the United Nations says that each individual should have sufficient water, safe water, which is accessible and affordable. Now, what is sufficient water? Sufficient water for a family is drinking water, bath sanitation, washing of clothes, food preparation, and the like. This is the minimum requirement. This is the sufficiency. And WHO says that it should be about 50 to 100 liters per day per person. What is safe water? Safe water, if there are any biologists, scientists here, that the water should not have chemicals and microorganisms and other hazardous substances. So you may have a water somewhere, but it may not be the water which is drinkable, usable. And what is the access? In the world, there are 884 million people are away from 1 kilometer away from the water. And India maybe figures somewhere there. I do not have the statistics of Telangana, but still the water is not accessible to everybody. And affordable. Now what is affordable? UNDP calculations say that 3% of the household income, more than 3% of the household income is not affordable. Of course, we have not come to that stage. Nobody pays the water. Nor does this government believe to overcharge. But definitely, this government thinks that the safe drinking water in sufficient quantity should be given to entire households of Telangana. This is a very ambitious third part of the milieu of Telangana is thinking. Now, what is our Chief Minister's idea? Is to provide 100 liters per day in rural areas, 135 liters per day in municipalities and nagarpalikas, and 150 liters per day in municipal corporations like one. Now, this is a very ambitious target, but he is very determined. This is a very major policy initiative which we took, and we can say part of our water program. Now for this, there is this, you all must have heard this, that Telangana water grid or water program, what we call water project. It will have 18 major intake wells where the water is drawn, and it is lifted to higher contours of Telangana. 26, 27 higher contours are identified, and the water from there then gravitates to every null. So some places, if it is successful, even third, fourth floor may be coming water without pumping. And this principle is the original principle of KCR, because he has done the same principle in Siddipet in 25 years ago. 25 years ago, Siddipet had a severe problem. So from mid-Mane, they pumped the water to a higher contour, and for 150 villages, 35 villages in his constituency, water goes by gravity. So the same principle is replicating all over Telangana. People are, it's a very ambitious program, but he is very convinced, and it could need a lot of money, but he is convinced and we are going ahead. So it will have 18 intake wells, 63 treatment plants, 17,000 storage tanks, and 10% of the water of all irrigation projects will be reserved for drinking water. There is no fight between one irrigation tank is not allowing somebody's, there is no fight. And 10% more for the industry. Now with this water plan of minor irrigation, major irrigation and drinking water, we move on to agriculture. Because then the agriculture will be in a safer hand. If we can use 900 in Godavari and 300 TMC in Krishna, the estimates are that entire Telangana, the government can give irrigation facility to 1 crore acres. That's roughly 1 lakh acres per constituency. Because 19-20 constituencies are Hyderabad, urban areas. So the entire Telangana could have, if the day we could exploit all the water of Krishna and Godavari in about 5 to 10 years, then you will have 1 crore acres of. So using the water with modern agricultural techniques, proper identification of soils, seeds, and proper technology. So if we can move agriculture into a growth model, then left is the power and industry. Now you all know that the power, we are born as a power deficient state. Because Telangana had resources, but the power plants were in Andhra. But our power sector focus has been very strong from the first 3 months. And now we can say that power, in 3 to 4 years, there should not be any shortage of power in Telangana. You will be surprised if that is the policy and that is the program initiative. We had around 4,320 megawatts in thermal, around 2,082 in hydel power when we were born into Telangana. Out of which how much is the plant load factor is different. It is very, hydel is not really fully workable in Telangana because it only comes in 2-3 months in a year. But with the ongoing projects, by end of 2015, we will add another 1,700 megawatts by end of next year. And end of 2016, we will add another 3,800 megawatts. And by end of 2017, we will add another 800 megawatts. By about 2017-18, we will have more than 11,500 megawatts in Telangana. And all this will be in the Genco and public sector. And what we have done is that Telangana bill itself says 4,000 megawatts have to be created by NTPC, National Thermal. So they are also starting. And we also entered with BHEL to install 6,000 megawatts. On the whole, if we go in this kind of vigor, that Telangana would be in very, very near future power surplus state. It should be a surprising to you, but there's a long way to go. But this is what is the policy initiative we are taking. And it will be not in the private sector. Mostly it will be in the public sector. As a result, private sector, if the electricity benefit comes, it will be the benefit of the private, not the public. So we are taking the state in such a way that if Genco is rich, then you can give the farmers whatever subsidy you give. A day may come that you may even give industrial subsidy to industry to come. So this is our policy goal. With that, though we are short of power for industry, we have an ambitious industrial policy which is envisaged and which is already passed by the Assembly, and there is a Single Window Act. The industrial policy of Telangana identifies that we have large tracts of land, unused, non-agricultural, should be identified and made into industrial parks. And land will be given not like the last governments have given, but on a very strict basis, on a criteria basis. But most important is that this Telangana industrial policy, which was placed in the Assembly last, I was very much part of drafting of the policy. It's growth and employment oriented, and with minimum inspection and maximum facilitation. The most important thing is self-certification. One industrialist says, this is my plan, this is my fire plan, this is my... So that self-certification is accepted and he is asked to start his industry. And the Single Window Act, which is passed, even Andhra government has, other governments has. But self-certification has, not even Gujarat has. We brought it. KCR was very keen that you trust him, that is his property, he will build fireproof, he will build according to his drainage. And who are you to, he has to go to 17 departments to get a certificate. Now in the single window, once the application is put, it is a responsibility of the department concerned to give, not the entrepreneur to go around. Now this single window clearance is given in 3 categories. Mega projects which are 200 crores and above will be headed by Chief Secretary. Up to 200 crores projects from 50 crores called large projects will be headed by Industry Secretary. And below 50 crores, small, medium and micro enterprises all be headed by District Collector. The respective officers will be there. One single window application is there. They have to clear and see that the industry comes fast. We have identified 12 core sectors to industrial promotion, of which 4 or 5 are very important. IT, as you all know, which is growing and it will grow. And pharma, biotech is one major area in Hyderabad and around. Then, third major area we really want to bring is defense and aerospace. Because a lot of defense industries are in Hyderabad, and a lot of defense manufacturing is done by the private sector, though government units produced, but small parts are done by private, so there's a lot of talent. So we want to, and in the recent times, Prime Minister Modi has reduced foreign direct investment in defense up to 49%. So a lot of industries from foreign countries is expected to come, and we want to welcome to Telangana. And another area you all must have seen, that textiles is another major area. KCR has